Welcome to our talk. Very glad to have you. So we'll be talking through the best practices and some tools that we can use for your business as we are in this season of social distancing. So we'll start with the basics about me. I'm Peter Kakoma and I lead the team at Kanzu Code, where we build software for individuals and enterprises in here in Uganda, but also in different parts of the world. We, as a team, we've been working remotely for 6 years now. But before that, I was also working at a tech company that had a presence in 4 different countries, inclusive of the US inclusive. And so even there, we worked remotely. And prior to that, I led a team at a telecom company, MTN, and we built software for about 10 million customers at the time. So that's my background. As a team, the team I lead currently, as I already shared, we've been working remotely for quite a while, and we've tried a lot of tools over the years, and it's primarily from those that I'm going to be sharing, and from the lessons we've learned along the way as we do that here, as we've been doing that here in Uganda. So for you, the details that I've heard about you, my audience, you are running either consultancy or a small and medium-sized enterprise here in Uganda or in East Africa. So I've tried to tailor the conversation based on that information. And so yeah, let's dive into this. Very excited to be here with you. So the tools I'm going to cover for today will be in these categories here. We'll go into communication, scheduling, finance, and we'll also speak a bit about collaboration. And communication, to start with, for you who has been running a business where you typically meet in an office for a set amount of time during the day, you are a lot more accustomed to very real-time communication. Say something and you get a response, and things typically move a bit faster than in this social distancing era that we are in now. And one of the obvious replacements for that is WhatsApp, and I know that has already been working for a number of businesses already. And one of the things in there is it has calling features and also a group calling feature for up to 4 people. One of the challenges with WhatsApp is because people are typically in so many groups, your work related information is going to be competing with forwards about whatever it is that people get forwards about. We all know those forwards. So, and if your group, your work group, is not one of the first 3 pinned chats for the individual, then it's very, very likely that a lot of important information is going to be missed. And for those reasons, I would recommend considering using a tool called Slack. And think of it like a WhatsApp for work-like settings. It has groups which are called channels, and it also has a lot of features that are particularly tailored for a work-like setting. They have a feature in there called threads, where you can have a conversation and just take it through to completion using replies, and you can use the groups feature to create different you can use the channels feature to create different groups for the different sections in your teams. You can have one for finance, one for HR, another one for operations. So you have different people being part of different conversations, and that helps to keep your conversations separate from the personal conversations, but also makes it much easier for notifications about important information to get to get highlighted much faster than they would, because it's very easy for things to get lost in WhatsApp. There are other alternatives to Slack. There's one from Microsoft Teams. There's also Skype, but the one I've been using the longest and the one I recommend strongly is Slack. Then for the conference calling feature, where you need to do video calls, Zoom is one of the ones that in the past few days has already been used very extensively by a lot of us. and it is a really, really good tool. The other alternatives in that category, there is Google Hangouts. I'll point out that Google Hangouts needs OTT. For those of you in Uganda, you know what that means. Skype is another alternative, but even that needs OTT to be able for you to access it. There are two lesser known alternatives which I feel are quite strong as well. There's one called Blue Jeans and there's one called Google Duo. And for all these tools, the free feature should suffice for the bulk of the work you're going to do. Zoom, for us who've been using it, know that there's a limit around how long the phone calls can be, which isn't true for these other alternatives. The other alternative is sometimes data is an issue, or the data speed is an issue, and you actually need to fall back to using the good old phone calls. And if you're to do that, you have two main alternatives known to me. One is using a conference call using your smartphone. Most smartphones have a facility where you can dial the first person and then press add call and call another person, and it will allow you to add up to 4 people to that call. To complement that, you will have to use the voice band of whichever platform you're on, or whichever telecom network you're running, and that will give you that means though that it's you who's going to carry the cost of the entire call. So you'll be charged for a call for every one of the people you're calling. So it usually works best if all the people you're calling are on the same network. The other less known facility is one from MTN Uganda in particular, and that's the number. Think of that particular conference call facility the way you think of Zoom. The way Zoom works is you have someone who's the chairman setting up the call, and then other people getting a code and using that code to dial in to the conference call facility. So think of MTN conference calls facilities in the same way, in that you have the first person, the chairperson, quote unquote, calling into that phone number there, and then they get a code, a 4-digit code, and send it to the other people that they want to join the call, and then those other people join the call. The advantage of this is it means you can have more than 4 people on the call. It also means that you can spread out the cost. In the first option, you're the one carrying the entire cost. In this second option, everyone is carrying the cost of the call on their own. So there's an advantage to that. It would also work best if all of you are on the same network. That way you're using bundles to take advantage of that facility. I looked up a similar alternative for Airtel and Safaricom, but didn't come across any. So if you know of one for either of any other network, please share it in the comments, and we'll be happy to share that with the rest of our followers. Because of the way communication is tailored in this social distancing era, there is a lot of likelihood that the times that you're sending a message is not necessarily the time that you're going to get a reply, because communication has shifted to being asynchronous, in the sense that someone might not be at their desk when you send the message, or really they might not be at their desk. That's at the heart of it. So you want to capture as much information as possible when you send the message, so that when that person eventually reads it, they have a lot of context to be able to know how to respond. That way you eliminate the back and forth. In an office setting where you're seated in the same building, you can go back and forth over and over very fast. While in this setting, someone might have gone away for a walk, and if they come back and find a message from you, and then they now need to ask for clarification, there's a lot of time and productivity being lost. So it's really key to capture as much information in beyond text sometimes than what you need, so that the person who receives it has a lot to work with and responds for that issue to move forward well. And two good tools that help in that, one is for screenshots. So when you take a screenshot, you can add extra context to the screenshot by writing comments on top of the screenshot, adding arrows and pointing out what you're explaining, so that when the person receives it, they know exactly what you're talking about, and I'll show an example of this shortly. And another even more powerful feature, so one of the tools for that is one called Awesome Screenshot. There are a number of others, but I've used Awesome Screenshot for the longest time, and I'd recommend it highly. An even more powerful thing is if you record a video as opposed to just taking a screenshot. So with explainer videos, think of it like I just want to explain anything. I want to explain how a certain feature in Excel works. I want to explain changes to a document that someone sent me. I want to think of anything. But I'm just creating a brief video where I show what I'm seeing, but I'm also speaking so that the person who receives it has a lot of information and they can move fast and act on what I'm saying. And two solid tools for that. One is called Loom. Another one is called Screencastify, which I've been using for quite a while. And they allow all the tools I've mentioned in here have a free facility that you can take advantage of, especially during this season. So Screencastify is also a really solid one you can use for creating very brief explainer videos just to get your discussions moving faster. So outside the communication category, I would like to first give you an idea of what those screenshots look like. This is a screenshot taken with Awesome Screenshot, and as you can see, I just took a screenshot. I added some context there. This is what I'm talking about, and a comment there. You can see that communicates a lot faster than if I kept trying to explain something just on phone or in another way by trying to type all this stuff out. So the next category I'd like to talk about is scheduling. Some of these feature tools you might already be using, but it's still key to point them out that in a period like this, more than any other time, it's really key to use your Google Calendar religiously. For those of you who are very good. So yes, in the sense that you want to block out time for particular things just to allow you to be a lot more productive. So you want to use your calendar as the tool for people reaching out and blocking time with you, and also for you reaching out and blocking time with other people. And Google Calendar has a really beautiful feature where while I'm reaching out to schedule time with someone, I can actually check whether that particular time is available on their calendar. I also have the feature of adding a link when I eventually create that calendar invite, so I can add a lot of extra context in the description of the calendar invite. I can also add a link. If it's going to be a video call, I can add the link to the video call in the calendar invite so that the person shows up prepared, because I added the description and documents and all that, and it allows us to be a lot more efficient. Another tool, this one is primarily for consultants. You've typically been meeting with your people physically and then walking them through really giving them the consultancy services in person. But now, because you're working remotely, you first need them to schedule time on your calendar. And one of the good tools for that is Calendly. And what that allows you to do is you have a link that you give to your prospects, and they would use that link and find out which time slots are available on your calendar, and then without necessarily viewing your entire calendar. So they see what's available, they book a time, and then you get an email and you confirm whether you'd like to, whether you are able to make that time slot in that particular time. The other options is you can book me. There's also Doodle. But all of them are giving you that core functionality of, as a consultant, just deciding which time slots of yours are available and allowing your prospects to book from that invite directly. Then for the finance perspective, if for those of you who are not already using an online tool for your finance work, you can, if you are using Excel, it would become increasingly difficult to stay in sync across the board, and you'd likely keep needing to ask for reports back and forth and checking, was this transaction added, has it not been added. A good tool to replace that back and forth is Web Apps. It's a free online accounting software for small and medium-sized businesses. I would recommend it highly. It allows you to have an account, allows your accountant, your finance person to have an account, and your transactions are all uploaded in there, and you get a quick picture of everything that's happening, and also you have fairly good reports to keep track of the most important things, and all those are generated, the reports are generated for you automatically. Google Sheets is also another key feature. If you've been using Excel sheets that are on one person's computer, I would recommend you put those online in Google Sheets and start working with them off there, because that allows you to all see the same document at the same time. That opens the door to the next item I'd want to talk about. In the collaboration section, the tools in the collaboration section, the first one I reiterate there is Google Sheets again. Very, very powerful tool because it has a lot of inbuilt capability that can be stretched to do a lot. So for example, if you have inventory that you're tracking, you can actually create a Google Sheet for that. You can have it do summing, averaging. You can have you can start to restrict permissions to who can view certain sheets. All that considered, if you also add to it the fact that you can get it on your mobile phone, it pretty much means you have an app, so to speak, and a mobile app that does a lot for you just by you initially building it out the way you want it. And because it's online, you're also not opening yourself up to it getting misplaced because a computer was compromised or it crashed. Yet you still have the security from the perspective of you restrict who has access to it, and yet you're getting all that other power. Closely related to that is Google Docs. Think of it like Word online. For those of you who've already used it, please block your mind out to these sections, but a huge section of the audience might still benefit from, if you don't have you have been using Word locally, but now you need to work faster on the same document with someone remotely. Put it on Google Docs. It allows them to comment on the document directly, and then you also comment and have an entire conversation about particular lines in that document using Google Docs. Another really powerful one is called TeamViewer. What TeamViewer does is it allows someone to get access to your computer with your permission. What that means is, instead of trying to explain this isn't working, someone can with your permission log into your computer and see exactly what you're saying and work with you towards resolving it. The last category I'll talk about is task management. And in task management, I would highly recommend a tool called Trello. And it will allow you, imagine having a notice board where you're just putting who's doing what, when is it due, and how far has it gone. That's what Trello does for you. Here's an example of what a Trello board can look like. Think of it as an online notice board. So all this is configurable. Everything you see here is configurable. But just think of, I can have a section here where I'm saying this is our inbox. The backlog is really things that we plan to do at some point. So I can just rename this and call it my to-do column. In progress, the column with what's in progress. But then look at also, it's showing me these pictures here are who is working on this particular item. And you can also notice that these items actually have due dates. More than that, they have checkboxes that show, this is showing that 1 out of 4 items in there have been done. You can see they're also beautifully color coded, so you can have different color coding for different categories. Which item has been blocked, which item has been paused. If you click this to view the details, it would show you why each of them has been paused. So you can do a lot with this functionality by just customizing what you want to do. Then lastly, in the best practices section, for today I'll just cover these. The first is you need to align on what your meeting schedules are. One that didn't come naturally for us at Kanzu Code as a team, but that turned out to be immensely valuable, is that we typically start the day with a 15-minute meeting in which everyone across the team is in a meeting somewhere. We are 30 across the team. We are 30 people in the entire team, and that's in different teams, but every one of us is in at least one 15-minute meeting in the morning. And that 15-minute meeting is just saying, what did I do yesterday, what am I doing today, and where do I need help? And it's different small teams, but everyone across the team is in at least one 15-minute meeting. What that does is it will eliminate so many emails, it will eliminate so many possible clashes, it will just create a lot of alignment very early in the day, and just make sure you're all drumming to the same beat. The second one, the second meeting schedule I'd highly recommend is having a weekly meeting, where this might be just for the more managerial side of things, but regardless, just to align what are we targeting this particular week, what are our priorities, who is doing what by when, and then having a single focus discussion where you're going to a particular issue that you need everyone to pitch in to solve for. That could be maybe communication is not being happening as well as it should be, or as fast as it should be, or being behind on certain items. So just aligning on what are your meeting schedules in this particular setup. The challenge with such setups is there's also the risk of having just too many meetings and people failing to be productive. So it's also key just to strip them down to the bare minimums, but make sure that they're happening so that communication is flowing as fast as it should, even in this setting. The second item is what's your schedule? Because now that things have changed and people are homeschooling, it's quite key to align on what is the availability of the different people on the team. Is it still is the expectation still 8 to 5? Is there a bit of flexibility around it? So just being crystal clear about that. The last one is on how do you progress between the various items, the various channels of communication. You don't want to be in a situation where you're asking, did you finalize on item A, B, C, D, E, F? That's a real item there in some companies. And then the response is that I actually sent it on WhatsApp and you didn't respond. So it just needs to be clear around what are the expected response times on the different channels, but also if for one reason or the other there's no response on a particular channel, what's the next course of action? So you don't have unnecessary delays in moving along different key things. So that's all I will cover for today. We invite questions in the comment section, and we'll get through every one of them, and then we'll just have a follow-up discussion based on your feedback and on your questions, just so we can go into the other tools. By far, this hasn't been everything we had to cover, but these are just the sections, the tools for the sections we've chosen to start with. And in the next segment, we're going to even more tools around cybersecurity and a lot of other fun things that we need to be considering during this time. Thank you, and looking forward to hear from you. Make sure you write something in the comments so we get your feedback and know how to proceed. Thank you very much. Till next time.